Hi, we're here at Bitcoin Amsterdam, and I'm looking around at all the different presentations which are there. And this is the first one which I thought was interesting. And his name is Luigi Cantisani, a tech lawyer who knows a lot about Bitcoins for years and also talked about MiCA. And of course, I'm very interested as DiamondPigs, which basically provides signals to thousands of wallets, and we do execute all kinds of trading. Are we MiCA, do we need to be MiCA compliant by January the 1st, because the Dutch are very strict? So I'm going to ask him some questions because he had some interesting probing questions before he could give us an advice.
Thank you very much.
No, Luigi. Interesting presentation about MiCA. I've heard about 25 different presentations about MiCA and the consequences. The Dutch are very strict. January the 1st, we need to be compliant, or if you were with the Dutch Central Bank, you had a half a year longer. But we are a company, a young company. We're about 8 people. We have about 12 million, assets under management, which we basically provide services to. But what we do is we control wallets. We have a connection, API connection, wallets on Bitfavo, Binance, Kraken, etc. And we just give signals. Sell your Bitcoin now, buy the Ethereum, those kinds of things. We have AI robots, which are smart, and they basically trade, but we don't handle Bitcoins, we don't handle crypto, we don't have custody. We just basically have connections to the wallets. What questions are you asking us before you can give us an advice, say, hey, you're probably this or probably that, and then I have some follow-up questions for that.
Okay, so let me get, first of all, let me say that this is not actually legal advice.
Absolutely.
It's a sort of...
A friendly talk. A friendly talk at Bitcoin Amsterdam,
exactly,
where there's thousands of people. So
because, projects can be pretty multi-layered, and you need to unpack the technology and what the service is about. And to be honest, also MiCA is quite complicated and very fragmented. There are several categories, and understanding and unpacking each of them is actually a challenge, even for the regulators, which I think are struggling a bit to understand what...
Especially for the local regulator, because they get it handled from Europe and say
it starts
you have 10
Brussels,
people.
But then domestic regulators are supposed to apply these indications from Brussels. But to go straight to the point, there are certain services labeled as wallets that fall between the categories of services regulated by MiCA, the so-called crypto asset service providers. Okay. The point is, does this wallet consist of a sort of custodian and administration of wallets? Like, do you have the keys of your users? Let me say it in a different way, from a risk-based perception. Let's assume that the users need to withdraw money. Do you have the power to prevent them from withholding money? These are the questions that you need to ask yourself.
No, they can immediately disconnect.
If you can freeze the wallet. If you don't have such a control, if you just provide, let me use this old-fashioned expression, electronic services to provide and transmit data, this should not fall under the scope of application of MiCA in our interpretation, because it's not really about doing, custodial services of wallet address. It's not really about processing the orders. It's just about
it's processing the orders. We basically say...
you provide infrastructure. But you provide infrastructure, technology.
Well, we also provide trading signals. We say, sell your Bitcoin now and go to Euro. Sell your euros now and go to Bitcoin. And then the exchange will execute the trade. So we're not doing it directly. We're just giving a signal and the exchange is executing it, but we're the one who initiates it.
Apparently, based on your description, this should not fall under the scope of MiCA regulation. Of course, further unpacking and proper legal analysis could...
Our lawyer said the same thing. But now we have the thing, we need to be compliant January 1st. And the regulator doesn't have time to deal with us, because they first do the big exchanges, the hundreds of millions, and they slowly will go down. And before they come to an opinion about us, it's probably going to be next year, June.
Because you asked for an opinion directly to the regulator.
Yes, and they said, very interesting opinion, we have no idea. They said it was a little more,
which is exactly what we were talking about a
Yes.
few minutes ago.
Yes.
Like, they received these rules, but they don't actually really know how to start applying them. So.
Yeah. But then what
okay.
happens? What happens then? Because this is, of course, this is now happening with crypto. But in general, European law works like that. It's slowly, and how much trouble are you in if you don't comply because you thought you didn't comply, and then a year later the regulator says, "I think you do reply that you basically have to comply." What happens in those situations?
Well, I think given that you talk about general, European Union principles, also apart from MiCA, I think that the general idea is being at least accountable for your choices. Like, if I have contacted the authority,
Yes.
why should I make an application for getting a license if maybe I don't even need the license? And if you, the regulator, to begin with, don't know if I'm a regulated subject rather than not.
You have a reasonable case.
Exactly.
Yes.
You have started a conversation. I think that this puts you in a better position. What should be avoided is trying to escape the law. Be like, oh, I'm not concerned by this. I am not asking for any legal opinions.
We are very serious people.
I don't want to have any conversations with the regulator. That puts you in a gray area.
No. But if you are of good, you basically we are of good intentions, and then blah blah. Okay,
yes.
So yeah,
I think you are in a safe zone. Let me use
that's really nice. Now, question is, I mean, you are a lawyer. You have been in crypto for a couple of years. How do your colleagues and all the people around you who are normally in seriously regulated businesses, how do they react that you were into this gray zone of financial asset class which was coming up?
Well, to be honest, at the very beginning, they don't even know what I was talking about. It felt like a completely new job in their eyes. I can say that people used to work in the traditional field of financial law were more prepared to this because it didn't feel like something totally new to them.
Okay.
It just felt like a natural evolution or sidestep, if you prefer, of fintech. We already had rules in MiFID II directive concerning trading platforms or services provided in an electronic form. So this feels like the natural evolution of that, but specifically meant for DLT-based services and assets. A specification.
Yeah. When did you start?
2018.
Oh yeah, okay. So a little bit after the second boom and then the bust again.
Yeah.
Okay. Which clients do you support? Do you have some names which we might know from a Northern European perspective?
Yes, basically, Top Protocol and the company Track System, which is actually organizing the hackathon here today, is one of our customers. But we also work with incubators, incubating DLT-related projects such as Crylabs. We have assisted many dApps such as Jure, Public Pressure, and many other that are currently covered by confidentiality because they are, still developing projects to be announced.
And you're now here at the this session where all kinds of companies are basically making a hackathon.
Yeah.
You basically do introduction. And your invitation about the organization who basically who is putting that show on. Is that the reason you're here?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, they invited us to serve as mentors because, during hackathon, there is brainstorming of ideas.
Yeah.
And it's a mess when you have a good idea, but then you realize that
regulation.
It's not... Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's good if projects get this kind of inputs in the early stage because they are know in what waters they are basically navigating.
Okay, Luigi, thank you very much for this friendly conversation, which was not any kind of legal advice, but it gave me some ideas and some direction, and also the other processes of how to deal with European law, which slowly is coming nearer a business to you. That's an interesting process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.